Good evening, America. Good evening, citizens, world citizens. Time now is 1933, and it's August the 24th, 2025, and it's Sunday. I want to talk a little bit about something which is kind of interesting. I'm seeing a lot of misinformation being brought out on the internet. Basically, those talking about war, nuclear war. Let me ask you a question. Have many of you or any of you ever seen the terrain on Mars? From a distance, of course. And I'm talking about those pictures by the NASA Explorer. Have you ever seen the surface of Mars in its totality? And have you ever seen any structures of created buildings? And I'm sure some of you have seen old ancient structures. But I'm going to ask you one question. How do you think that red tone came about on that planet? And I'm going to place this to a perspective in a view of a nation or a world engulfed by fire, in which it was ignited by a nuclear holocaust. Whichever it was. Some scientists speculate that it was hit with an ice comet on the side of on the planet. It caused the electromagnetic shield, atmosphere to disappear. And when that happens, all of the planet is obliterated. But then again, I'm going to ask you again, those who are nation leaders, specifically Iran, now they are bragging about 2 weeks' time they can have about 10 nuclear weapons, mass nuclear weapons. And I'm sure the United States has them, as does Russia and Pakistan and India. Now, accumulate all those nuclear weapons together. What you will have is a future Mars on Earth. Now, let me ask you a question. Are you wise leaders to create such a scenario as the world up in flames and in a color red like Mars? In the future, you will not have a planet to live on, a habitable planet. You will have to go underground, much like Mars has done. If you can get my story straight. Now let me ask you another question. How many of you are bold enough to press that red button and start this off quickly and get it over with? How many of you are hesitant to do that? Or with a lot of cojones to do it? I don't think so. I don't think any of you are bold enough and brave enough to destroy this planet over your beliefs. Because that is what it is. You're fighting over beliefs, belief systems that will ultimately destroy you. Now I can see Israel going on the war path because it wants to expand its nation across of the Gaza and Syria and across to Egypt, to Medina and Mecca. But let me say this to you, at all costs, everything has consequences. And there will be obliteration on this planet with that when that happens. Because those Muslims, those Islamic believers will not let that happen. And when it does, Israel will be gone. Now the question of Russia, China, and Iran against the West. They want to create their own little world order. They want to destroy the last world order, decimate it. I have it understood that Putin went after the oligarchs in Russia, who all were considered friends to the Rothschild family, and even closed down the banks in Russia that belonged to the Rothschild family. Now, there's a little skirmish there, a little conflict between the old world order and the new world order now being presented. Now, wisdom tells me one thing. All conflicts have a definite end. A definite end. And they're moving the little chess pieces around on the chessboard. But let me continue with this little talk that I'm giving you. Wisdom states that if you found peace, and only peace comes if you sit around a table and talk why you are not achieving peace, and achieve peace, and formulate peace. That is how you make peace. You don't make peace by constantly punching the other guy, and the other guy punches you back. That is not how you make peace. You sit at a table like two grown men and talk your differences out. It doesn't take a genius to understand that. Now, I'm hoping that many of you catch this little lesson of life and get around a table. I mean, every nation involved. And sit around a table and formulate a peace plan to stop your nuclear weapon arsenals in your nations, and eventually find peace. And it can be done. All you have to do is say yes and stop your childish ways. Because what I see is children playing with toys. I hope that many of you are listening, and many of you find peace. And I will say it again, before there is peace, there is fire. And many of you will flare up that fire button and create havoc, chaos, and destruction, desolation on this planet. And it's going to look like Mars. Have a good evening. Think about what I just said. And God bless all of you and give you some common sense. Be well.